Have you ever wondered how deep tech companies actually start? Well, we were too.
So in this podcast, we'll be interviewing scientists and entrepreneurs that have taken their ideas out of the lab and turned them into startups. I'm Antonia.
And I'm Christina, and this is Startup the Science. Hi everyone, it's time for another episode of Startup the Science. Today's episode features the startup faCellitate. We sat down with Véronique and Tobias, who are the chemists and biologists behind the technology. What they do is provide interactive consumables for advanced cell technologies and regenerative medicine in the 3D cell culture market. Its unique polymeric platform aims to support cancer and stem cell research, drug discovery, toxicology, and tissue engineering. From what I understand in my simplistic non-sciencey brain is that faCellitate creates better environments or better homes for cells to live in. For a better explanation, please keep listening to this podcast. Something else that's really cool about faCellitate is that they are a part of BASF's Chemovator. So you're probably familiar with BASF. Well, Chemovator is their internal business incubator where they help BASF intrapreneurs, get it, intra. They help them validate their ideas and turn them into investable and scalable business opportunities, which is exactly what faCellitate has done, and very successfully, I might add. So they talk about all of this in the episode, so stick around and listen to their story. Here's Véronique and Tobias of faCellitate.
Hello. Hi, guys. Welcome to our podcast. It's very nice to have you here. So I will start with an introduction, but before we do that, I'd just like to say that this is a big moment for us because it's the first time we have a startup of this kind joining us on the podcast. So most of the startups, if not all the ones we've previously spoken to, are university spinoffs or startups that have been formed in different ways. But you are a little bit different because you started off in a large company and then you've decided to start your own thing. So that's what I'd like to ask you a bit about in the introduction as well. Can you tell me, how does a startup originate in a company like BASF?
So, hi, my name is Véronique. I'm a corporate intrapreneur. I think this is the correct term. So basically my background is I'm a chemist by training. I've been working for a large chemical company, BASF, for 6 years in the R&D, running different R&D projects. And basically since 2 years, BASF has a new program, which is called Chemovator. And the idea is to take ideas and technologies from BASF and develop them in a startup-like fashion until market readiness. And this is how the so-called venture teams are created. And these venture teams, they work like a startup and they are supported by external serial entrepreneurs. So basically what happened 2 years ago, I was having this very interesting R&D project and we saw a lot of potential behind it and I applied for the program. I pitched. Basically, it's a pitching process similar to going into another incubation program. And this is how I ended up in the Chemovator.
And then at some point along the way, you also met Tobias, right? Hi, Tobias.
Hi.
Would you like to tell us a bit more about yourself as well, Tobias?
Well, I'm a biologist from background and worked at BASF for around 10 years. And when Véronique came and explained her project to me, searching for biologists to support her project, it was extremely appealing. So I like to innovate things, to improve things and find new solutions for problems. And this was exactly what I was looking for. So a great scientific idea and a cool project to support.
Very cool. So you both met in BASF as part of Chemovator, as you said, a very interesting incubation program within BASF, which is already a very exciting concept. I think some companies are doing that, but not many at this point. And we already know that one of you is a chemist, one of you is a biologist, so we have kind of a clue that that's what your startup faCellitate does, a mix of chemistry and biology. But let's hear from you, actually. What is faCellitate and what do you guys do?
Okay. faCellitate, basically the word is a creation of faCellitate and cells. So we want to make life easier for cells. Actually, the name is a result of a beer brainstorming, but I think it fits well because what we do is we turn basically, or we want to develop cell culture reagents that make life easier for cells and basically support all kind of cell culture assays. Cells, mammalian cells in general, are fundamental models to understand biological processes and disease patterns and drug interactions. And usually the cells are cultivated on artificial plastic surfaces outside of the human body, which do not well reflect the natural environment of cells. And therefore, cell models in general, they have a limited predictability when it comes to development of drugs and understand diseases. And this also leads to high costs and development times, and also to a lot of animal studies. And our role is to play into that area as an enabler. Because cell surface interactions, they play a crucial role. And so we want to provide the right chemical surface to the cells so that the cell can really feel well in their environment and behave more naturally, and thereby help to reduce animal studies and on the long term also decrease time and costs in drug development.
That's very cool. And you've explained it so well that without having any sort of knowledge of or deep knowledge of biology, I think I could follow. But I like also how you explained that you're trying to make cells' lives easier, which I think is very nice and very kind towards the cells. But can you tell me a little bit more about why do cells have a hard life when they're placed on an artificial plastic surface? Why does that not work so well?
So cells need input from their surroundings. So they heavily interact with other cells, with proteins and all kinds of material around them. So they're not alone in a tissue, so they communicate. This is very important, and it heavily influences how they, for example, react towards drugs. If you cultivate them on a plastic surface, they will respond very differently compared to a natural surrounding. So if you want to have meaningful results, you need to resemble the natural environment.
That makes a lot of sense, right? So the cells don't act in isolation. They need to respond to something. So let's talk a little bit more about your technology and your solution. I understand it's a polymer platform, if I get that correctly. Can you tell me what that means and how that works? And how does that interact with cells in a better way than existing solutions?
So what our polymer platform does is you can use the polymers to first hide a surface. So it makes it kind of biologically inert. It does not bind protein or cells anymore. That you can already use, for example, for so-called spheroids. So the cells, they don't bind to the surface, but bind to each other, and you get something like a mini tumor. So which resembles a bit more kind of natural environment. But you can do even more. You can then, on top of that, add different biological cues, peptides, antibodies, proteins, and like that you resemble the natural surface.
And so then you get the desired cells, I'd imagine, or you can grow cells on that. What are the applications for it? What are we doing with these cells? We've grown them in a better environment than before, and then what?
Yeah, exactly. So the applications are in the life science area whenever biological and biomedical research is needed. So we're talking about biological researchers in academia, we're talking about pharma companies, we're talking about biotech companies. They do a lot of different cell culture assays. This goes, for example, in cancer research, also stem cell research, disease modeling, tissue engineering, and so on. So the field of application is very, very broad. We are focusing right now on two specific fields. So the field number one is the so-called 3D cell culture. So like the name already said, the idea of 3D cell culture is to provide an environment of cells where they can grow in 3 dimensions and not in 2 dimensions like on a flat surface. And this is something that we faCellitate with our first product. I will come to that later. So this is one part of our polymer platform, but we're also looking to develop products which are useful in the stem cell market to basically help to expand pluripotent stem cells in a large scale. They are used a lot for disease modeling, but this is science of the future. Many of them are also a high potential candidate for cell therapy. And the whole market environment, it's research driven, it's very innovative, very dynamic, and many processes are in the making, which makes it so interesting for us.
Right. So a lot of different potential markets, right? You have life science, you have biological research, biomedical research, stem cell market, which is very big, and we know it's constantly changing and growing in a very dynamic environment. And you've chosen to focus on two of these, which is already very cool, because 2 out of these big markets is already a lot to tackle for a startup. Why are your products special? Why are they unique? What makes them stand out from the competition?
So most researchers, when they try to build up a system, they use extracts or proteins to resemble the surface. So it's usually a black box. So you hardly know what's really inside, and it's not convenient. So we want to generate a more synthetic surface, which is reliable, so you don't have batch-to-batch variabilities from one to the other batch. You know what's inside and can control your experiment much better.
And also, if I may add, so the polymers that we are developing, they are in that sense very sticky. So they love to stick to different polymer and plastic surfaces, and they do it without having a special chemical treatment. So we have these sticky polymers, which in addition are very defined. So we know our chemistry, and we have the toolbox so that we can attach different specific ligands so that it can be applied in different biological assays.
Very exciting. And so this is not just an idea, right? It's not just something you're thinking of doing. You've already started doing it, and you have a product that is called BioFloat. And I'm curious to know more about that. What is BioFloat? I saw that I can already order it on the website. I can add it to my basket. What happens if I order it? What can I do with it once I receive it in the mail?
So to answer the first question, yes, we have already the first products, and so we are quite proud on that. So for a corporate to and also for other startups to have an idea and starting with basic research, screening for polymers, optimizing them, doing the development, and setting up a product in around 1.5 years is relatively fast. So we managed that. Now we sell these first products. So when you go on our homepage and shop them, you can get either a coating solution or a well plate. The well plate is usually used to generate spheroids. This is the kind of cell ball which I mentioned earlier. So it's a 96 well plates. You put cells in there and they form this cell ball. Also, you can generate organoids, which is a topic which is coming up very intensely. So kind of a mini organ which with different tissues. These things are generated in such a plate, or our coding solution, which you can use either to generate such a plate on your own or to code any other equipment to make it repellent towards cells and proteins.
Right. So that's very interesting, but I'm guessing I shouldn't be the one going on your website not having a clue what I'm doing and ordering these things. So who are your customers? Who are the people actually going and making serious orders, not like me?
So our customers, like I said before, is they are biological researchers. So they come from research facilities in academia. They are pharmaceutical researchers. They usually work in cancer research, or they are looking into disease pattern of this is difficult to pronounce, neurological diseases. And they use these models to mimic certain diseases, to understand disease patterns, to do drug screening. So this is something that pharma companies or outsourced pharma R&D will do a lot. They will test millions of compounds on these well plates and see how they react, how the cells react to the compounds, and then thereby create lead candidates, which then go into the next phase of drug development. Or the researchers will just look at biological processes, especially in the stem cell area, to understand what is happening, because a lot in this field is not standardized yet, and there is also a lot of assays which need to be developed so that they can be really used in a meaningful way and create meaningful data.
Okay, that's very, very interesting. And do you already have some first orders, some first partners outside of BASF that you're working on?
Yes, we get more and more orders, and also the feedback, and that is important for us from customers, is very positive. So scientists which order the product, test it, and come back to us and say, well, cool, we can do things with your product which we couldn't do before, because the cell did it here and so on. This is very nice feedback, and also for us, this kind of collaborative approach together with customers is important to advance our projects.
And I imagine that's also because depending on your customer, you customize to some extent your product to them, or at least the offering to them, I would assume. So I wanted to ask you a little bit about your team, because in our experience, all these great ideas and really innovative projects don't really come to life if there's not a very strong team on board. But what I've also heard in our previous episodes is that sometimes two co-founders end up doing a bit of everything, a bit of marketing, accounting, HR, a little bit of everything, even though initially they were maybe just chemists and biologists. How does that work in your team? Is there anybody else helping you guys out, or at the moment is it you doing everything?
Okay, right now we are a team of 4. So it's Tobias and me as the starting core team, the biologist and the chemist. And since March, we have Simon who joined our team. Simon is a physics guy by training, but he's also an entrepreneur. So he has founded already 4 other companies, and he is supporting us in the business development side, but also for operational tasks. And to complete our startup team, we have Angela. Angela is our marketing intern. She has a degree from the Mannheim Business School, and she has nothing to do with science, but it's a lot of fun to work with her. And actually, as a fun part, I can tell we recently did an escape room as a team building event, and we were in a science room, a so-called crazy lab. And the funny thing is that Angela, with a marketing background, was able to solve all the science riddles, which to us is kind of rewarding, because we think we did quite educate her on these aspects. So it's very versatile. So yes, each of us has his or her dedicated role, but of course a lot overlaps, and we get to learn and see many different aspects in a startup life, from doing R&D to doing business development, marketing. The website that we created, the content was created by us, setting up marketing campaigns. We recently shot a video. So it's very interesting. Yeah. And there is never no routine at all.
And it's nice to see that you're progressing and you're growing. You've grown your team, and I'm sure you'll continue to do that. But I'm curious, what is the journey of a startup that starts off within a large company? Because we haven't had that many like this before. I'm curious to hear from you what you think the next, let's say, 5 years will look like. Are you planning to spin out and become your own completely independent entity, or will you be part of BASF going forward? Are you looking for investment? What's the future like?
So the program, of course, that we are in has some limitations in the time. So right now we are at a junction situation, because our Chemovator period will end soon. So basically the idea is that either there is a BASF integration or a spin out. This is something that still has to be decided, and we're following both pathways. And right now we're looking also for Series A investment in case of a spin out. And there are several, let's say, options possible. So we can think about a joint venture with BASF and other investors, but the details have to be decided in the upcoming month. on the long term, we see ourselves as an enabling company, either as part of a BASF business division or also as our own entity. And we want to be a life science supplier of cell culture reagents and materials because this is our core expertise, and create an ecosystem of very chemistry-defined products which are deeply rooted in our material knowledge and create value for the customers by giving them meaningful results for their data, and basically help them to make these breakthrough discoveries in the biomedical area.
Right. So you're now at a bit of a crossroad, trying to figure out, are you going to spin out or not, and how you're going to be doing that. I can't help but tell you that we have applications open for ADMACOM, for Accelerator, until the end of this week. And one of the things we try to do in that program is to support companies that are more or less at your stage and that are trying to figure out their next strategic steps. So just saying, if you have some time until the end of the week, maybe you want to apply. But what do you think? If you were to bet, what's most likely to happen? Do you have any preferred scenario, or can you not disclose that at the moment?
We're in the middle of the discussion, so I cannot tell, to be honest. Yeah, but I think it's likely that on the long term we will spin out just to be more agile. Yeah.
Well, then in that case, you definitely have to apply to ADMACOM. Okay, I'm going to start here with the advertising of our program. We're coming towards the end of our recording, and this has been really, really great. I've learned a lot, and I think what you're doing is very exciting. Whether you decide to spin out or not, either way, your technology is very interesting, and I'm sure it'll help a lot of biotech companies, a lot of researchers, a lot of companies in life sciences to figure out how to improve their products, discover better drugs. Is there anything that you would like to tell our audience? Any asks, any wishes, any hopes and dreams you'd like to share with the people listening?
As a chemist, I mean, I'm a chemist, but I've always been fascinated by biology. And to me, it's very rewarding to work in this field because I have the feeling that I can contribute, even if it's not me who is going to make the next medical breakthrough discovery.
But someone has to enable it, and that's what you can do.
Exactly, yeah.
Tobias, is there anything you'd like to add before we say goodbye?
So, I mean, working in that startup, I enjoy a lot because it's interdisciplinary. Yeah. So it brings a lot of challenges, but you learn a lot. And in the next months and years where we continue, of course, we will need investment, we need talents. And so everyone who got interested to this podcast is welcome to contact us, and we would love to discuss on all kinds of collaboration and working together.
That's great. And we'll make sure to put all of your contact information in our description. And I hope that some interested people will get in touch with you. I'm pretty sure they will. We almost always have follow-ups to these episodes. Thanks a lot, guys. This has been great. We'll definitely keep in touch, and I'm curious to see what the next months and years will bring for faCellitate.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Startup the Science.
If you like our show and want to know more about what we do, check out our website at inam.berlin.
And don't forget to leave us a review. Until next time.